You're probably wondering why there are Oreos on my salad. Now, I am not telling you to do that, let's be clear. But that combination, sweet next to bitter, crunchy next to soft, actually explains why some foods are impossible to stop eating, while others feel or can feel deeply satisfying. See, I came across this idea called dynamic contrast while reading a lot about health and nutrition, and it genuinely changed how I think about cooking, eating, and even losing weight. Now, the term itself shows up briefly in Hooked by Michael Moss, almost as a throwaway, but once I noticed it, I couldn't stop seeing it everywhere. And today, I want to break down what dynamic contrast is, how you can use it in everyday cooking, and why it works. Let's start with the Oreo. You see, I think it's the perfect example of dynamic contrast. You've got the crunchy, bitter chocolate cookie wrapped around a soft, sweet cream, black and white, hard and soft, bitter and sweet. And each bite, it sets up the next one. Maybe you've eaten one or two, or a sleeve, or maybe it's just me. But it's no wonder it's been America's favorite sandwich cookie for over 100 years. Think about peanut butter and jelly. It's no wonder it's a childhood favorite. You got the salty, fatty heaviness of the peanut butter right next to the bright, cool, fruity sweetness. One coats your mouth and the other one cuts right through it. That pairing's a classic throughout the ages for a reason. It's not fancy. None of this is meant to be fancy. It just works on so many levels. But before I get into why, one more example. I saw this really clearly recently when I made a pumpkin coconut soup. This is for illustrative purposes only. So I add peanut butter for richness and depth. It tastes good, and that's my secret ingredient for curries, but something felt flat. Now, I added salt, thinking that would fix it, and it helped, but it didn't still feel satisfying. What it was missing wasn't seasoning, it was contrast. So I ended up adding this spicy maple syrup for sweetness and heat, and lime juice for acidity, and finally some toasted tahini seeds on top of that for crunch and zing. And that's when it clicked. You see, salt fixed the flavor, but contrast fixed the experience. We often talk about food in terms of salt, fat, acid, and heat. Thank you, Samin Nasrat. And that framework is incredibly useful. And in Nick Sharma's book, The Flavor Equation, he explains flavor as a combination of sight, sound, mouthfeel, aroma, taste, and emotion. And I wanted to expand on that just a little, and that's why dynamic contrast clicked. It's about texture and temperature, sweetness, bitterness. It's how food crunches or even how it coats your mouth. It's the whole picture. So when you're cooking, or even when you're just assembling food, you can consider that flavor equation, but through the lens of contrast. Sweet, salty, bitter, umami, crunchy, creamy, hot and cold, even big and small, like how you cut your vegetables in a stir fry or a fruit salad. Now, let's zoom out a bit and talk about why this actually works. There's a psychological and biological reason we like this stuff. Back in the day, like caveman times, food and different textures and flavors usually meant more nutrients. A variety of sensations signaled a variety of benefits. Now, in my video on nutrition and health, I devote a whole section on the importance of variety for that reason. But that idea of variety, of mixing textures and flavors, got me wondering about something deeper. Like, what actually makes food feel good to eat or feel complete? I started digging into that question, and that's when I came across something called sensory specific satiety. Basically, when you eat the same texture over and over again, your brain starts to tune it out. That's why, after a while, even a good meal can start to feel a bit dull. But when you add a little contrast, something crunchy, something spicy, something cold or acidic, you re-engage those pleasure centers. Your brain lights back up. It's like getting a refresh mid-meal or a power boost in a video game. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of fast food spots and restaurants are adding spicy versions of their food for that very reason. It's a cheap way to add contrast to food and excite you, the eater. Or think about dessert. It's one of the main reasons you always have room for dessert. Even when you feel full, dessert offers a completely new set of flavors, textures, and sensations. Most of the time, it's cold, creamy, and sweet, the opposite of a savory dinner. And you're excited by that. Okay, here's where it gets tricky. The idea of variety helping us feel satisfied can also backfire. Because if you're constantly introducing new textures and flavors, your brain never feels done. That's why buffets are dangerous. So many options, so many new things to try, or why trail mix disappears faster than you'd expect. Every bite is different, especially the trail mix with chocolate. Every bite keeps your brain curious, keeps you eating. I remember reading Mindless Eating by Brian Wansink that mentioned that people ate like 40% more M&Ms when they were presented with more varieties of colors. And remember, M&Ms all tasted the same on the inside. That's exactly how food companies use dynamic contrast to keep you eating. They study this stuff, they engineer it. Oreos, Doritos, M&Ms, they're built to offer you just enough variety to hold your attention without letting your brain shut it down. They're designed to defeat satiety. But that doesn't mean dynamic contrast is the enemy. It's just a tool. It depends on how you use it. Let me give you an example that stuck with me for years. Can't believe he ate some of my sandwich. Author A.J. Jacobs, who wrote Drop Dead Healthy, a book where he tries a bunch of things to be healthy, like wearing noise-canceling headphones for a month, and then eating better was also in that book. And so he was on this talk show promoting the book where he shared about how he got himself to eat more vegetables. One of his tricks was crushing a handful of Cheetos over steamed broccoli. He called it the Cheetos Crunch. Now, at the time, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Like, why are you telling adults to eat more vegetables? I thought that's what adults are supposed to do. But now I get it. You see, some people really don't like eating vegetables, and they need a reason to keep trying them. What A.J. Jacobs was doing, whether he had words for it or not, was adding dynamic contrast. He took a soft, almost bitter vegetable and added crunch, salt, and umami on top. He didn't change the broccoli, he just added enough interest to make his brain want to eat it. And I can absolutely see how that helps people eat more broccoli. Yes, it's a processed snack food, but in that context, it's a tool. He wasn't eating a bag of Cheetos, he was using a small amount of crunch and flavor to help him eat more vegetables. And that's a trade-off I can get behind, because the alternative for most people isn't steam broccoli plain and enjoy it, end of story. It's skipping the broccoli altogether. Personally, I think more vegetables is better than no vegetables. This is where it helps to stay nuanced. Dynamic contrast in processed food can be used to manipulate you, but in the context of home cooking, it can help you. It can help make healthy food feel satisfying. I noticed the same thing when I was losing weight a couple of years ago, down from 200 pounds to 170 in 4 months. And I ate a lot of salads, protein, vegetables, egg white omelets, pretty basic stuff. But when I started to add a little contrast, croutons, nuts, something crunchy, the meal felt more satisfying. Even with the extra calories, I was less likely to snack later. The same goes for the whole egg to the egg white omelets. That extra fat, that creamy yolk made the meal more enjoyable. Keeping the food interesting, like adding sharp acidic pickled onions or spicy peppers or hot sauce, helped the meal feel more interesting. Of course, I had to keep it reasonable, just a little, not too much. So yes, sensory-specific satiety can lead to overeating in the wrong setting, like when you mindlessly snack, especially late at night. But when you use it right, contrast can actually help you stop eating sooner because your brain feels satisfied. Whether it's a grain bowl with warm quinoa, cold avocado, or pickled onions, or even a chocolate chip cookie with a small sprinkle of salt, there's no doubt that we chase flavor, but we also crave contrast. So no, I'm still not putting Oreos in my salad, but you can. You can also subscribe so I can share more recipes and ideas with you. Just remember, cooking with dynamic contrast in mind, you'll not only make food that tastes good, but they'll feel good too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.